2 different Cricut projects this week, and it's funny to me how I will go for a month and not open my Cricut at all, and then I have a stack all at once. The first project I made is this super cute galaxy print infusible ink. I was actually making a mug with this print. I bought it originally to make a t-shirt for my son actually, but it was perfect for the project that I needed. It was to become a mug as part of an Easter basket for an adult. So I used Design Space and just found 3 really cute free Easter egg SVGs in Design Space. I love to sort by free because I'm a tightwad. And so I cut 3 different Easter eggs from this really cute print because once it printed up, once it got pressed, I guess is the word I'm looking for, it kind of looked kind of Easterish color, very bright and cheery, and I really liked the effect. So I used this galaxy print to start with, and then I actually got a friend to press it for me because she has a mug press and I don't, and it it wasn't something I really wanted to buy for a one-off project. I might get the use out of it, but I'm still not convinced, so it worked better for me to give my friend a box of chocolates for her help. Not having a heat press, I haven't used infusible ink a huge amount, and so I'm still kind of getting used to the weeding of it, but once I got it to come off properly, it weeded up really quickly, and I was able to drop it into town, and my friend was able to press it for me. And it just turned out so super cute. I am chuffed with the end result. The basket from Kmart, along with an egg-shaped candle and some little Easter themed kitchen baking things, and one basket finished. And so that's why I love my Cricut, is being able to kind of come up with these little personalized projects on a whim. So with that done, I had some custom labels to make for a friend. She's reorganizing her kiddos' wardrobes, and so I said I would give her a hand. And so I found some SVGs online, but the text didn't quite match what she wanted, and so I've imported it into Photoshop so I can create a custom layout for her to get exactly what she needs. So all I'm going to do is, once I've got it in Photoshop, is I'm copying and pasting the actual graphics across into a new document. I just sized this at 12 inches by 12 inches, copied from the original and then pasted onto this piece here. And then I can just move things around. I can add new text that better suits what she needs and get it really custom ready for her. Obviously, I couldn't quite match the font that the original used, but I was able to get something that still worked for the vibe she was going for, that I got forever ago from Creative Market. I'll link it in the comments below. And so it was a little bit fiddly at times, but it wasn't too bad. And it meant that I could get it exactly what she needed. I use tools like Photoshop or Procreate to make the most of my Cricut and to really customize free SVGs or even paid SVGs that I find online that I buy. I don't let myself be restricted by it, and having these tools, I've even been able to use Canva to customize things, and it works really, really well because the point of having a Cricut is to make custom stuff. So I may as well have semi-custom SVGs as well. So I'm just going to zoom through really quickly now, put it on fast forward, and let's get this sheet finished and laid out, ready to take over to Design Space. It did take a little bit of reshuffling to make sure that everything got on there as it was supposed to. Just, I kind of underestimated how much space the labels would take up when I first started. But in the end, it did all fit in there really nicely, and I was able to then just turn off the background layer so that it had a transparent background, and I exported it as a PNG, and then I could jump on over and import it into Design Space. And so it was just a matter of uploading it and selecting it and adding it in that way. And then I could add it to the canvas because I did export it as a PNG. It already had a transparent background. I didn't need to do any erasing or preparation. It was just a matter of clicking through the prompts to get it done. And then I resized it. I did have a little bit of trickiness with the resizing because I started out by sizing it as a 12-inch wide piece because that's how wide my mat is and that's how wide the vinyl is. What I failed to factor in was that the Cricut does have a 1/4 inch margin on each side. So then I just dropped it down to 11.5 inches wide, and that worked perfectly. And I was able to go ahead and click the make button, which is always an exciting stage of the project. Then come across a problem in that I haven't worked with repositionable vinyl or removable vinyl for so long that I kind of actually forgot where I was going with my base material. So I thought that there was actually an option for premium removable vinyl, but it turned out that there actually wasn't. And so I just had to cut it as premium vinyl, which I was a little bit nervous about. When I unrolled it and put it on the mat, it didn't feel quite as thick and sturdy as the permanent vinyl. So I was a bit worried it might actually cut all the way through the backing paper, but it ended up cutting fine. I just used the Cricut brand of the removable vinyl, and I picked that up at Spotlight last week. Normally, if I'm cutting directly off the roll, I do tend to cheat a little bit, and I will adhere the vinyl to the mat but not cut it off the roll until after it's cut, so I can cut really close to the outline, trying to make the most of my vinyl and not create too much wastage. But this one was really easy because I knew that my total design was a neat 12 by 12 inches where I started, or 11.5 by 11.5 in the end. I just thought it would just be easier because it was a full roll too. I just grabbed my trimmer and just cut off a 12-inch square, which also then meant that I could adhere it really nicely to my mat. My mat is desperately in need of another clean, so it's not very sticky at the minute, which means that I tend to use painter's tape to hold my vinyl in place when I'm cutting, just to make sure it's not too bad. It is still a little bit tacky, but I feel better if it's attached with painter's tape, and by trimming it first, then that works really well. And then I just taped it onto the mat and got cutting. It was actually really surprising to me how long it took. And then I was surprised that I was surprised because it was actually quite an intricate cut with lots of little bits and details. And so, of course, it was going to take ages. And so I just let it run and got on with other jobs. So let's do a Cricut speed run all the way through to a finished cut. I was actually really nervous about the weeding of this part, so I just started by getting rid of some of the tape, and then I started easing it up from the bottom. Some of the letters were a bit stickier, so where the peel was kind of going down in the opposite direction to where the way I was peeling it up and off. But some of these letters were really fine, and I was really quite anxious about how they would come off. But in the end, it surprised me. It actually came out really well. I think I had one problem. There was one letter I needed to recut, and that was mostly because I didn't actually take all of the blue tape off before I started weeding, figuring it would pull off with the vinyl, which it did in most parts, except for up the top. As you can see here, I'm getting a little bit stuck because the blue tape actually went over the cut, and so it kind of pulled the letter with the blue tape as I pulled it off. And then, oh my goodness, it was so fiddly to get all these little details out. I think in the end it was probably 20 minutes to half an hour of weeding just to get everything out because they are fine line designs. They're not block designs. So it did take quite a while. So I'm going to pop it on super speed. If only it was this fast. I think this clip comes down to about 46 seconds of what was probably half an hour's work. And it still feels really long and slow. But it was worth it in the end because they turned out so cute. time, so this was really easy. Again, I just cut a 12 by 12 piece, and you can see with the little offcuts, I do tend to be quite miserly with my transfer tape, but this was really easy. And being a big square, it just peeled off so nicely, and then I burnished on the top, took it off, flipped it over, burnished on the back, and then I got to work cutting it all up into individual labels. So part of it I was able to do on the paper cutter. Some of it I did need to cut by hand just to get in and amongst the different labels and letters. As you can see, it was a little bit tricky to see in times because it is a white print on a white paper under a glary piece of gloss transfer tape. But I sliced them all up and then gave them all another good burnish at the end to make sure that everything was attached as it should be. I reprinted the one that I had a problem with at the start, and then they're all ready, and I'm just going to pop them in an envelope and I can give them to my friend. Thank you so much for joining me in the craft room today. I hope you've enjoyed this little peek behind the scenes of my process. See you tomorrow.